westerly, 25 to 40 k's, tending westerly at 20 to 30 during the day. And once again, Pete and Di on a Monday morning, 7 past 11, and as always, of course, we have magical moments. Magic Moments with our book reviewer, Professor Frank Nolan. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Peter. Good morning, Di.
Good morning, Frank.
You look a bit worn out, Frank.
We stayed up late watching the tennis last night.
Who won the tennis?
Roger Federer was a bit too good for the Scotsman.
Yeah.
He put up a gallant fight, but he just didn't, Federer's just too good.
He is. He's brilliant, isn't he? A nice fellow, too.
Yes. I heard one commentator remark one time that Federer can play shots that can't be played. And when he does that, he's pretty well unbeatable, isn't he?
And worthwhile watching too, isn't it?
It is indeed, Peter. Peter, we'll have a call coming through in a minute from the author of a book we're going to talk about this morning. I'll just introduce it to our listeners, and then we can talk to Darren McErlain for calling in from Canberra.
Okay.
Darren's written a book called Totally Random Poems for Kids, and it's a great little book. It's 101 poems pitched to children about the ages of 12 to 13.
Right.
It's very much a family affair. It's the poems are written by Darren McErlain with illustrations by Angelique and Darren McErlain. Angelique is 11 years old, his daughter. The book is dedicated to Darren's wife and best friend Kathleen and his 3 beautiful children, Angelique, Alexander and Xavier. And it's dedicated to Darren's grandfather, Leslie Clarence McErlain, of whom he says, "Papa taught me how to laugh too much." Well, he certainly inherited the sense of humour, Peter, because there's a wonderful sense of humour in the books. I'm going to ask Darren to read them because he could read them very much better than I can.
Yes.
But there's a quirky sense of humour, and each of the poems is illustrated by illustrations, some of them by Angelique. I don't know whether she did them all or not, and they're very, very appropriate. And Jan interviewed Darren the other morning, and I had to literally wrest this copy of the book from her, and I'm going to have great trouble keeping it in possession because she plans to read some of Darren's poems over the over the next week or two. So just while we're waiting for Darren to call in, Peter, I'll just read one of them.
Good.
And this is 11, 12-year-old, 13-year-old child, and it's called Dinner for Sale. The evening meal was ready, but apparently it went cold. When I came to the table, the sign on my plate said, "Sold." My mum got fed up with waiting for me to come. She sold it to the highest bidder, who paid a pretty sum. I desperately needed to eat, like a hungry little hog. My tummy started growling at the friendly neighbour's dog. Mum said she simply called me, and Dad said he shouted too. How was I to know? I just didn't have a clue. Dad said he called me for dinner. Mum called me twice for tea. The fact I missed all requests, I submit a not guilty plea. To cut a long story short, I found my food in the fridge. It seems they were just tricking me. I'll just get over it and build a bridge. Well, that's what happens if you don't come when Mum and Dad call you for dinner.
Yes, that's a bit of a boy thing, I think.
You reckon?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
You say, come along and lunch is ready, and nothing happens because they're fooling around doing. And I think it might be an old boy thing too.
Yes. Is it?
Now, Frank, we've been waiting for Darren to join us at this conversation, and I think he's there. Are you, Darren?
Hello, good morning, Frank, and good morning to our wonderful listeners at Voice FM Ballarat 99.9.
Good to speak to you, Darren.
Thank you.
And in the studio we have Peter and Di.
Good morning.
Good morning indeed.
Good morning, Darren.
This is actually their show, Darren. I come on every week and talk about some books.
He takes over, Darren. But
yeah, I do. I take over from them. But they're very nice people, Darren.
Wonderful.
Look, it's great to hear from you. I don't know whether you heard me reading one of your poems while we were waiting.
I did actually, Frank. I'm listening online in Penrith at the moment.
Okay, beaut. Darren, I've just briefly introduced the book, Totally Random Poems by Darren McErlain, published by Darren McErlain.
Fantastic.
Illustrations by Angelique, or some of them by Angelique.
That's right.
And I mentioned the dedication to your grandfather and to your wife and best friend Kathleen. So it's very much a family affair, Darren.
Oh, absolutely. And it's really, it's great that you mentioned the dedication that I did to my grandfather Les. He actually grew up in St Arnaud, which is, I think, not too far from Ballarat. And I guess, as you said on the radio this morning, he had a quirky sense of humour, and I guess hopefully that's coming through in a lot of the poems that I've written.
Darren, when you mentioned St Arnaud, Di's eyes lit up because she comes from up that way.
Yes, I do. I came from Paradise.
Oh, fantastic!
And I do know. I actually wondered when I saw your name if you were related to the McErlains from St Arnaud. So in fact, you are.
Absolutely. I'm very proud too.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's a small world.
It is, exactly.
Darren, I noticed too that you have Prime Ministerial approval for your book.
Oh, look, absolutely, Frank. I'm really glad that I was in a very, very privileged position. I travelled with my students in Year 6, and we went to Canberra, and the Assistant Treasurer, David Bradbury, kindly handed a copy of Totally Random Poems for Kids to the Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, while she was sitting in the House of Representatives, and she gave me a wave while I was in the gallery and gave me the thumbs up. So I thought, oh, that's the Prime Ministerial type of approval. I thought that's pretty good. I'll take that as a good review.
You've done very well. I don't know whether Voice FM can quite top that, Darren.
Oh, look, it's always great to be out there talking to some of the great things that I've done here.
That's beautiful. Darren, just tell us something about yourself before we ask you if you'd read some of your poems.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I guess initially I started off as a journalism cadet at ABC Radio at Ultimo in Sydney, and I guess working in the newsroom I was able to pick up a few writing skills and a few performance skills as well, and did some work for some of the community radio stations in Penrith as well. And I guess I enjoyed doing all that creative writing, and I thought it'd be great to become a primary teacher and pass some of those writing and performing skills onto the kids as well. So I guess now I'm a primary school teacher. At the moment I'm teaching Year 3 at Mary McKillop Primary School in South Penrith.
That's great. Well, the primary teacher rings a bell with me, Peter. I started as a primary teacher.
Fantastic.
They're laughing here, Peter. There's always going on about primary teachers, and also both of our children. They're not. One's a primary school principal, and the other one's a consultant in the Catholic Education Office in Melbourne. So
Terrific.
We have a lot in common.
Oh,
Darren.
that is great to hear. Fantastic.
Yeah. And Darren, how did these poems come about?
Sure. I guess I realised that I had some sort of skill at putting some rhymes together when there were birthday parties and things like that. So I guess instead of writing the general thing in the birthday cards, I would create a poem, or I'd create some sort of greeting. And I suppose I compiled a few of them, and I thought, well, maybe I could get some ideas and put them together, eventually put them into a book, and then I guess share them with other people. So I guess a lot of the ideas for the poems have come from observation and I guess just experiences in life, I suppose.
And Darren, do you get any help from the children? Oh, you're teaching grade 3 now.
Well, it's really interesting you say that, because I actually wrote the book when I was teaching Year 5 last year, and I did use a couple of my poems as comprehension skills and worksheets and things like that, and I guess they did give me a little bit of feedback with how they were going. They absolutely loved them. I guess I was in a position to write poems for them and put their names in the poem and get a love for writing and a love for poetry and things like that too. So it's been I've really enjoyed the journey.
That's great. And of course the children are pretty severe critics, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. If they don't like it, they're pretty quick to admit to not liking things like that. So I guess it's good in this, with all the technology around it, it sometimes can be a challenge to keep them focused and engaged, but if you can make them laugh in the classroom, then that's always a good little litmus test, if you can call it that.
I think the point you make about competing, I suppose, to some extent with the television, where that's a one-way communication, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Whereas the children can really relate to the poems and be part of them.
Absolutely.
And, now, Jan, I spoke to you last week, Darren. I was just saying to the folks in the studio, I had to literally wrest this copy of the book from her to have it here with us this morning.
Like that,
that is good to hear.
But she's planning to read them at random, Darren, on her program, where she has a book segment, more for the younger children, and many of these poems would be quite appropriate. Darren, would you like to read some of them to us, or tell us about them?
Oh, absolutely. I would be very honoured. Is there a particular poem that you'd like me to read, or I can just go straight from the performance for poultry for performance-based, if you like?
Yes. If you take it away, Darren.
Okay, here we go. This one, it's one of my favourite ones, which I do for poultry for performance, and it's called Weatherboard House. It's just on page 35 of your copy there. Boom, boom, drizzle, drizzle, boom, boom, bang. You can't go outside today, the cloudy weather sang. Boom, boom, squizzle, squizzle, boom, boom, bang. Just play board games with the family gang. Boom, boom, squizzle, squizzle, zoom, zoom, zang. No slippery dip or swing chains with a chang. Flitter, flatter, pitter, patter, zoom, broom, bone. This storm is loud in our weatherboard home. Ning, bing, wing, clatter, clatter, twang, twain. Not much to do but to look at the rain. Hebble, dribble, hebble, dribble, whop, whop, crack. The dark cloud looms and blows a little back. Whooshka, whishka, whooshka, whishka, pat, pat, pat. Waiting for the storm to pass, and then that's that.
That's wonderful.
Oh, that's fantastic.
You see the words on the page, Darren.
Yes.
Just black and white, and then you hear them performed like that, and
yes.
it really comes to life.
Oh, terrific. Now, that's great to hear. I mean, that was my whole goal with as a performer as well, as putting some words on the page and bringing them to life as well. So I'm glad that that's out there.
Hey, Darren, I just got an email. I just read it just before I came into the studio. You've put these on YouTube with some backing. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Those were recorded last night, actually. So I guess I just picked about seven poems, including Weatherboard House. And that's on my YouTube channel, which I'll link to my website this morning, darrenmcErlain.com, and you'll be able to listen to some of those poems that are in the book.
Oh, great. I noticed, too, in that poem that, where the kids are not aware of it, but you're introducing them to some of the poetic skills, the alliteration and that sort of thing that you bring in there, and it really brings it to life.
Oh, fantastic.
Can you read us another one?
Oh, absolutely. I'm just, and some are fairly simple. Sometimes it's all about performance. One is Go and Clean Your Room. Did you read that one this morning, Frank?
No. I read the one about the dinner for sale.
Ah, dinner for sale.
Yes,
right. Okay.
Yes. What was that one you said?
This one's called Go and Clean Your Room.
Oh, yeah, Go and Clean Your Room.
On page 63.
Right. That's a common phrase the kids would be familiar with.
As a father, I'm very, very inspired by that. Absolutely.
You would be.
Okay, so this one's called Go and Clean Your Room. Why clean my room? My room is not the dump, but a walk-in filing cabinet. I guess I should. But my bedroom is not messy. It is having a refurbishment. My sleeping room is not a drain. That is the smell of a busy life. I probably should. My clothes are on the floor because I'm having a garage sale. Those crusts on my bed are controlled experiments for school. I better clean it, I suppose. That junk under my bed is my archive. I'm making a time capsule. And I didn't hang my shirts up, as they were scared of heights. I better start doing impressions of Dr. Clean. My fan is caked in thick dust because it has attracted everywhere else dust. My furniture cannot be moved. You'll need to contact the town planner. You can't see the carpet. Things on the floor stop others from seeing the ugly carpet. Who picked the carpet? Oh, that's right. It was me. I love cleaning my room. Cleaning my room is fun. I love my room. My room loves me back.
There was a bit of non-verbal communication going on between Di and Peter while you were reading that. And what was that about, Peter?
Oh, we're not saying.
Oh, yes, we do. We have a white room at home, and sometimes it's a bit littered.
I think Peter was being told to go home and clean your room.
My poems have many uses.
It does.
It sounded very familiar, Darren.
Darren, just harking back to your father, the influence that he had on you, did he read poems to you, or did he recite them, or make them up?
Yeah, well, my father was a primary school principal. My grandfather, he had a lot to do with, I guess, inspiring me with some of these poems. He went to school in St Arnaud, and he in those days, I guess, it was looking at a lot of the text types and all of the old poets like Percy Bysshe Shelley. He would, at the top of his head, just recite a lot of these poems that he learnt from school, and I have to admit I didn't fully understand what those poems were about, other than the fact that it was just something that my grandfather loved to do, and I guess the ideas stemmed from that as poetry for performance, and I guess it was all about bringing those on stage, I guess, on some sort of stage. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it was an art. I have great fond memories of my father reading the poems of John O'Brien.
Oh,
you know, around the Bory log.
Yes,
and the old Mass Chandridan, and he'd have this book of John O'Brien's poems, and he'd go through them with a sort of I suppose it was a phony Irish accent, but he did it beautifully. And then I had an Uncle Tom he was a performer. He would get up, as you say, and perform Banjo Patterson or these fellas on stage at a church concert or something like that. And I remember Dad saying you'd have to shoot him to stop him.
Once you get them started, there's no stopping.
That's right, but it's an art, I suppose, which, well, as I call it an art, I suppose, which is perhaps not as common these days to, people just bursting into verse from time to time.
Absolutely.
Darren, you've given us two rather different poems. Have you got another one with, perhaps something slightly different in it?
Sure. I'll just check my copy here, and I've got a few of my favourites. I suppose over time you do have some of your favourites. I'm just quickly going through them now. No, That's Silly. There's that one. I can... No, That's Silly, which is on page 19.
Okay.
If I put a rainbow in the washing machine, would the colours run? No, that's silly. If I ran with scissors, could it run faster than me? No, that's silly. If I play with doors, can I count them as a new friend? No, that's silly. I might get square eyes if I sit too close to the TV. Would my eyes get wider from a widescreen TV? No, that's silly. If I can't talk with my mouth full, what if it's opposite day? Should I remain silent with an empty mouth? No, that's... Oh, hang on. Yes, I guess that means no more questions.
Very good. Do your children put you up to some of this?
Oh, I think they do, absolutely. I guess that's where you get your inspiration from, your own students, your own children, and everything around you. Absolutely.
Well, with the stuff that they see on TV, well, that's silly.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
You've sort of picked things there, I suppose, that would emanate probably from the TV, and the kids would see the funny side of it.
Yeah.
Because they do have a sense of humour, don't they?
Oh, they do, absolutely, yeah. And I guess they do like, I guess one thing they get from technology is the escapism, and if you can help them escape from some sort of real world and make them funny, and at the same time get them to identify with something in their own lives, then hopefully you're on a winner. Absolutely.
Yes, yes. Well, look, I don't want to work you too hard, Darren.
No, I've enjoyed being on the program this morning.
Okay. Well, look, if you just keep reading them, or you read another one, and and then maybe we'll talk about the marketing or the
sure
where you go from here with it.
Yes, absolutely. I guess there's another poem which I guess it's one of those fairly. It's not a classic poem, but I'm hoping that it will eventually become one of those classics that people listen to. It's called The Hill, and it's on page 73.
Right.
The patchy green and brown meadow angles to the sun. The tilt of the turf steps up to nature. Crusty rocks from the earthly stairs of nature. Chunks of holes create mystery for the runner. Sloping to the skies, it gives the legs a pull. The ramp of soil brings tears of joy. The steep pathway brings freedom to our mind. Fresh-cut lawn builds hope for the free spirit. The climb of hope brings a new game. A game of shops or chasing plovers. A warped land where dreams are fun. A warped land at a secret location. Is the hill open? You bet. You only know the real hill if you've been there.
Yes, now that one's got quite a lot of food for thought, hasn't it?
Absolutely, and I guess that one's mainly aimed at, say, some of the 14-year-olds that can maybe rip that apart with a little bit more, looking at all those different tools, as you say. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, they're moving on from, the fairly simplistic and fun side of it into some of the, more deep thoughts and notions that a line of poetry can produce.
That's exactly right.
That's great, and you would regard that one, as you say, that's a poem that which obviously you have a fond, I'm sure you appreciation of it because you wrote it, but it's a meaningful one.
That's right. I have to admit the location of that hill is actually in the playground of our school, and the school that I actually teach at is my old primary school as well. So I guess I've done a full circle, and the meaning of this hill at the school that I'm at has a lot of meaning for generations. And when people find out that I'm teaching at the old primary school, they say, "Oh, is the hill still there? Is that big tree still there?" So I guess it's trying to notch some sort of memories, appealing to that market, I guess.
Well, yes. Well, that could become quite an integral part of the school's history and
absolutely,
and so on. Yes, it's a far cry from the I love a sunburned country sort of stuff, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Not that I'm knocking that at all.
No.
Just by the way, are you familiar with the Hobyahs?
No, that's news to me. I haven't.
Darren.
Now you
dear.
missed out on one of life's experiences.
We've caught you out, Darren.
You have indeed.
You did your primary schooling in New South Wales, obviously.
That's
did you?
right. Yes.
Well, unfortunately, New South Wales students missed out on the Hobyahs, apparently.
I think he's a bit too young, too, Frank. Don't
Yes,
you?
that's right.
You need to be like over 60 to know about.
Yeah. Darren, it's a bit of a joke here. A few weeks ago, it was Education Week in Ballarat, and we brought in a copy of the old second book of the Victorian Readers, which were published back in the 1920s, and they were in use in the schools until the early 50s. And one of the stories in that is about the Hobyahs, which were a very nasty bunch of little men, weren't they, Doc?
Yes, they were. I read about this when I was first able to read, about 6 or 7, I suppose. And to this day, it still gives me the creeps. So, actually, if you look on the internet, there is the original version of the Hobyahs, and you can read that and be equally disturbed.
Darren, I'll send you a copy of the Hobyahs. It's not a poem. It's a story based on a German folk tale, I think, and it scared generations of Victorians. That might be why we're a bit different from you up there.
It sounds like there is a bit of a border there. That's right.
Darren, now moving on to the marketing of the book, you mentioned in this note this morning that it's coming out as an e-book.
Yes, I think in probably about 3 or 4 weeks, maybe earlier than that, the book will be available on e-book, and I guess the purpose of the book coming out in the form of an e-book is that it allows the teachers in the classroom to bring up the poems on an iPad and then automatically send it to their Apple TVs, or and I guess it's combining poetry, something traditionally old, with something new as well. So.
Now we can give that a plug on Voice FM. How could people access that?
Great. The best way to do it would be go through my website, which is darrenmcearlain.com.
Yeah.
And there's lots of different things that they can look at. There's a couple of poems on the website. Within a couple of hours there'll be a YouTube clip with just the audio of some of the poems that they'll be able to use in the classroom, but also if they wanted to purchase a copy of Totally Random Poems for Kids, they can, I think it's $15.95 and $6.60 postage, and then it says on the website about 3 days, but normally the distributors there are sending it the next day. It's pretty much getting there the next day. So, but I certainly encourage any of your listeners, if they wanted to send me an email with some of their favourite poems as well, they can actually do that on the website too.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Now, it's Darren McErlain, all lowercase, all one word.
That's right.
DARRENMACERLAIN.
It's DARRENMCERLAIN.com.
No AC. MCERLAIN.com.
That's right.
And Darren, is the book's not available in the bookshops yet?
There is a bookstore in New South Wales in Springwood, the Turning Page, which it's available from at the moment. It's unfortunate that some of the bookstores wanted to increase the price quite dramatically.
Yes.
And I thought, if I want to get those poetry books out there, I need to manage it just a little bit more finely to make sure I can get into the hands of the people. Absolutely, yes.
Now, I see what you're getting. I was quite surprised when you said $15.95, because we're familiar with a price something more like double that. Well, that's good. So your website is the essential thing for us to do.
Yeah, the website is probably a great way to get that book ordered, and yeah, for sure.
Okay, Darren. Well, if you don't mind, we'll read one of your poems on air from time to time.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
And I think Jan's planning to do the same.
Oh, that's great.
If you'd read us one more poem, we'd let you go.
That sounds good. I love it. That's great. Let's see. I'll go through my collection of poems, and I've got a few little tabs here that I can quickly refer to, and I'll just go through my next one, and it's good that I can actually flick through. And this one is called How to Announce Disappointment, on page 57. Using the shortest poem in the world, what could you possibly say to make a big announcement? Keep your audience at bay. Sit them down nice and fast and fetch them a special drink. Carefully put them off the scent. Don't tell them what to think. I've got something to tell you. Now here it jolly goes. I'm going to... Oh, we seem to have lost the line there. But that's, I guess, one way that they can use poetry for performance to engage in some sort of mystery, or get people thinking, I guess.
That's great, and I love the illustration with that one too.
Oh, that's actually a picture done by my daughter Angelique.
I thought it might have been one of Angelique's, 11-year-old. No, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, look, Darren, you've been most generous with your time, and thank you so much to speaking to us on Voice FM this morning. Is there anything further you'd like to put before we let you go?
I guess I encourage your listeners just to jump on the website and just send me an email. And that gives me an idea of the sort of things that your listeners are out there trying to hear, and I might be able to write them a special poem just for Ballarat listeners, perhaps, as well. But special thanks to Peter and Di as well for allowing us to be part of their program this morning.
Thank you, Peter. Darren, it's been a great pleasure, and the very best of luck with your book, and keep writing.
Wonderful. Thank you, Frank, and thank you, Voice FM.
Thank you, Peter, Darren.
You're welcome, Darren. We can see why Jan would be interested in the book.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Peter.
It's right. It'll be right up her alley, and I'm sure she'll be featuring some of it in her show tomorrow.
Oh, terrific! And thank you, Ballarat. Excellent.
Thanks, Darren.
Thank you.
Pleasure, Darren.
Okay, bye-bye.